it's not just Mr. Peter Obi that is getting the clapback. Even the obedient movement seems to be getting the same clapback of cyberbullying and any statement that is not going in a particular direction. You know, it will seem like no other person's comment matters if it doesn't align with that of the obedient movement. How do you respond to that? Is that a fair way to look at it?
You see, these accusations, I find them very interesting. Now, let's bear in mind, what is the obedient movement? Let's try and take that moniker apart, right? It is simply a collection of individuals who believe that a new Nigeria is possible. It's a bunch of individuals who believe that politics can be played differently, and we see an embodiment of these values in His Excellency Peter Gregory Obi, right? Now, not all of us are on Twitter, and this idea that anything that happens in the Twitter space is representative of all of the whole obedient movement is just wrong. The large majority of obedients are people like myself, businessmen, entrepreneurs, who just simply believe that the best hope we have is embodied in Mr. Obi, right? Now, there are some people who do say offensive things. And the truth is, His Excellency Peter Obi has always called for issue-based politics. Not politics of religion, not politics of sentiment, not politics of tribe, not politics of insults. He himself has never insulted anybody. He has, in fact, come to the defense of some people that were being bullied online. So this idea that we are going to blame Peter Obi for anything that anybody on Twitter does is just flat out wrong.
Well, clearly, no one is blaming Mr. Peter Obi for the comment of anybody.
They are.
Oh, really?
Some individuals certainly are.
Perhaps maybe the expectation is as a leader of the obedient, because the obedient movement, the word obedient drew its name from his surname. So perhaps the expectation is, look, you should be able to, correct these guys. And, one wonders whether or not that happens by the system, the leadership, such as yourself.
He has done that. He has done that in the past. He has said it repeatedly that we need to focus on the issues of Nigerians. And that should be the priority. We should focus on the fact that Nigerians are unemployed, the fact that people are hungry, the fact that people are struggling to meet their daily needs. There are families that are deciding whether they can eat egg on Monday or they have to wait till Friday, right? Those are the issues His Excellency would like us to talk about, and not these issues. He has come out again and again and said it is not about anything else apart from the issues. His passion is in Nigerians. Now, I don't know if they expect Peter Obi to give up his pursuit to revolutionize and change our country and start responding that anytime somebody says something wrong, he's like a school teacher with a cane running around flogging people on Twitter and say, don't say it, don't say it. That's not his job.
Well, anyway, I don't think, I'm even trying to picture that image in my head of some school teacher coming up, but I don't think that will
responding
happen.
To every
tweet. Something you said, that about a bunch of people who believe that a new Nigeria is possible. Absolutely. So on the one hand, it will sound like anything that does not sound like what the obedient movement wants. Without interrogating it, there is an attack on that statement. On the other hand, you said a new Nigeria is possible, and everybody believes that a new Nigeria is possible, including 100%. The people who are not members of the obedient movement. But the question is, how? So to take on that issue, on the one hand, if it doesn't sound like what the obedient movement wants or members of the obedient movement wants, it's clobbered down. How do you have, I'm pretty sure you heard that before. How do you respond to that one?
There's nothing wrong with debating issues. You see, when you say clobbered down, it's almost as if we're trying to close the conversation. I don't believe that's anybody's hope or desire. It's the same regardless of what political party that you support, right? If somebody proposes an idea that you do not align with, you speak up against it. That is the nature of democracy. There has to be a dialogue from both sides. And the obedient sometimes are very vocal about it. They say, okay, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
I agree with you.
There are some elements that maybe shouldn't articulate themselves that way. But we get that across board. It's a huge movement. Remember, in the last election, we had over 6 million people vote for His Excellency. Well, that's what was declared for us anyway. We know it was more than that, right? Now, how many of those people do you think are on Twitter? Not many. So the obedient movement is much broader than Twitter. Twitter just happens to be a very vocal area where discussions are happening. And if you look at the nature of Twitter itself as a social media, right, you will see that across different countries, it is known for, you know, being a place of rancor. In America, in the UK, it is that kind of space. And that's okay to an extent, because sometimes things need to be said, right? But that doesn't take away from the fact that the obedient movement is a large movement that is focused primarily on the well-being of Nigeria. His Excellency Peter Obi is focused on primarily the well-being of Nigeria, and that's why he believes in security, education, and creating jobs for Nigerians.
But you've also heard this spat between Mr. Peter Obi and Mr. Adeyanju, the back and forth that is making the rounds about that one. Accusation, counter-accusation, daring, you know, here and there. What's your take on that?
I think Deji has spoken well of Peter Obi in the past, right? Because he recognized the value that he brings to Nigeria. Now, somewhere along the way, some individuals hurt Deji's feelings. And I understand that. Now, while his feelings
Some individuals being members of the obedient movement?
People on Twitter.
Okay.
Have hurt his feelings and said some things that hurt his feelings. His feelings are valid, but he really needs to put his big boy pants on and focus on the main issue of Nigerians. Just because individuals insulted you personally does not mean you then attack His Excellency Peter Obi, who is a bastion. He is a politician that stands above all the rest, and we all know it. So these false accusations, which rightfully, like any other citizen, His Excellency has a right to defend himself. He has a right to sue an individual who's defaming him and making not just insulting statements, but claims of bribery, of things that we all know to be wrong. I mean, look at the antecedents of the man. Here we have an individual who came to Nigerians and said, I want to be your president. And I know they give she. Now you're going to tell me that's the same person that went to go and be talking to Deji about money? Absolutely not. It's impossible.
But you do know that, you know Deji Adeyanju.
Yes.
You do know that before this guy will even make any statement, there will be one or two things that he will have up his sleeve. Do you think it is a battle the obedient movement wants to face?
If he has anything up his sleeve, he would have taken it to the right channels. There's the EFCC, there's the ICPC, all of which are on Twitter. He can simply DM them with his evidence and have them do their investigation and arrest anybody who is found culpable. This isn't about crimes. This is a trial in the public space. Now, it begs the question that what is motivating this change? Why is he so desperately trying to harm His Excellency, right? And I think it's because they're afraid. And they should be afraid. The greatest threat to the political system in Nigeria...
Who is afraid now? Deji Adeyanju is afraid?
The existing order and anybody who supports it.
And you think Deji Adeyanju is working with the opposition to the Labour Party?
He is certainly working to the detriment of the one and only viable candidate that is giving us an alternative in Nigeria right now. He is working to... even if he's not under the APC banner, he's certainly working to their benefit and has promised to give his vote to them.
Well, it's his.
It is. He can give it to whoever he wants.
You know, quickly to the question of how that we spoke about the other time. One of the challenges I have seen in my practice is that, to a large extent, many people speak without getting facts, without verifying facts. And the obedient movement is no less. Sometimes there are some facts that you hear. Someone just throws something and without verifying it, everyone goes after it. Yeah, I mean, it's not only the obedient movement that does it, but, and you also said that the youth, we know the way they are and everything. It's not peculiar to this youth generation. The Awolowas, the Azikiwes, they were also quote-unquote rebels in their own time. Otherwise, we would not have the independence we had at the time that we had it. Now, but the question is that of verifying facts. Is there a system by the obedient movement, the management of the obedient movement, for voter education, political education for the people, so they speak with facts, with knowledge, and not just with sentiments?
That's right. Now, there seems to be this mistake that anybody who believes in Obi and says anything now speaks on behalf of the obedient movement, and that's just blatantly wrong. Do you understand? There are people who say whatever they want to say, articulate themselves without fact-finding. That does not mean that that is the stance and the belief of all obedience. I'm standing here today, a firm believer in the obedient movement, a firm believer in His Excellency Peter Obi. And you can check my Twitter, you can check my entire Twitter history. I've never at any point insulted anybody because I believe in what His Excellency says, which is let us focus on the issues that really matter.
Okay.
The issues that will make a difference in the lives of Nigeria. Because no matter how much we talk about what Deji said, what he did not say, people are hungry. Many went to bed hungry yesterday night. And that's not what is going to change it. It's what we do in the next election that might give us hope.
Okay, quickly, because we're out of time. What party does the obedient movement belong to?
We are firm believers in His Excellency Peter Gregory Obi being the best candidate for the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Okay.
Right.
So what party does your principal belong to?
Right now he's in the Labour Party.
Not the ADC?
We are working with the ADC.
Okay. Clearly you are sounding like a politician yourself, but I'll leave that. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Adaramewa is an entrepreneur, strategy and policy consultant, and spokesperson for
Nigerians. Good morning, Barrister Adeyanju Deji. This is Obedient General. I want to appeal to you, in as much as obedience, whatever you tag us to be, you need to understand that the Obedient Network, which I believe in, which I practice, is one of those things that has come up due to this frustration of bad governance. Some of us we didn't grow up here. We left the Western world to come back, and the only platform we could see to voice out our frustrations rather than taking up arms was through the obedient movement. We have grown through the rough streets of Nigeria. We saw violence, but we chose not to be violent. You as an activist should know that among the bad leaders we have, that Peter Obi is one of the best. And that is why we are following Peter Obi. And now having a comrade and activist like you take on him like this, I don't know what you want to achieve. We urge you, do not turn other comrades against you. Think again. Allow Peter Obi to continue to face already attacks from those that are scared of him, not you. I don't believe Peter Obi will bribe you. I don't believe. We know Peter Obi very well. A whole lot of us know his approach. What do you want to achieve? What do you really want to achieve? To be popular or what? We appeal to you to please desist from these attacks, because that's not making you popular. The obedience you are calling, when we call you out, we will even block your page in few days. But we don't think we are having issues with you. Whatever your issues are with Peter Obi, please, we advise you to please, as a matter of urgency, desist from these attacks. Peter Obi remains one of the symbols of good governance, and the only person we believe that will reduce the cost of governance, thereby providing for the more needs Nigerians crave for. Barrister Adeyanju, please stop this.
Adeyanju Deji has built a brand around loudness and making sweeping statements. But let's separate the drama from the facts. First, let's take his latest attempt to bring Sowore into Obi's matter. He claimed Obi once called Sowore the blackmailer in chief. But again, where is the evidence? He didn't produce a document, he didn't even give context. Just a throwaway line designed to attract Sowore's supporters and create a false alliance. Let's talk about some of his petty lies. Deji claimed, "I have never supported any political party." Yet the evidence says otherwise. His poster shows he once contested for National Publicity Secretary under PDP. How do you reconcile that? On one hand, he paints himself as neutral above partisan politics. On the other hand, he was actively campaigning to be a part of the party structure. This is dishonesty. And all this points to one thing. His court is social media and his judge is public opinion. If he wants reconciliation, he runs to social media figures. Today is sure, tomorrow it could be very dark man. Deji, being barely 2 years at bar, explains some of his shocking legal blunders. Imagine the case of Comfort Emerson versus Ibomhe. Deji argued that Ibomhe had no right to ban Comfort based on freedom of movement. But this is laughable. Freedom of movement protects citizens from unlawful restriction by the state, not from private businesses enforcing safety and order. Even a first-year student would know that, but definitely not Deji. He speaks with confidence, but confidence without substance is emptiness. Now some people might ask, why would Peter Obi even bother suing him? And here is the answer. Because Obi's greatest asset is his reputation. The only thing that separates him from the typical Nigerian politician is the image of integrity, of being different. And when someone like Deji goes around spreading falsehood, it's not just talk. It's an attempt to chip away that very reputation. In politics, perception is reality. And if you don't defend your reputation, your silence will be misinterpreted as admission. Take a moment and think of this point. Deji, when being quoted by Shara reporters some years back, rushed to clarify things. He said, "It's not what I meant." What does that tell you? It tells you that he knows that words have consequences and he had no proof. So now ask yourself again, what changed? Don't forget, on TV, Deji boasted, "I'd rather support Tinubu than Obi," clearly hoping to get favor from the corrupt end of the judiciary and the presidential pit. He believes the system will protect him, not the truth. That is why he's so reckless with his words. He knows the system wants Obi down, so he's hoping to be the one to be used. But here's where the case is bigger than Deji versus Obi. If falsehood can be weaponized in court without evidence, it sets a terrible precedent because this case will always stand as a reference point. Will Nigeria judiciary stand on evidence or collapse under politics and corruption? That's exactly why Obi must act, because if lies are allowed to stand as truths, then integrity, the one thing Obi represents, dies. Let's keep the count from the judiciary. It's the truth at a time. Take care and have a nice day.